Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. So much happening vis-a-vis Iran. So everybody's wondering, what is China doing with all this? Because, of course, they are very close to Iran and to Russia. And we heard the story that Russia was giving intel to Iran recently. So is China doing anything backdoor? Well, who better than the great Asia expert Gordon Chang? His Twitter is Gordon G. Chang. Gordon, what is China? You haven't really heard them say too much. What are they doing? That it concerns me when you don't hear much.
Yes, we should be concerned. Well, we know the Chinese are doing something, Rita. First of all, they got their very large intelligence ships just off of Iran, and they must be supplying real-time data to the Iranian forces and to the IRGC. So that's one thing we know. But we also know that the Chinese have been sending, for instance, the chemicals for Iran's rockets. They have actually allowed a private Chinese company to locate all of America's military assets. I mean, this just goes down the line of what they've been doing. And, of course, before the U.S. struck, all those Chinese cargo planes left Chinese airspace and landed in Iran. We don't know what was inside, but probably advanced radars and probably those supersonic missiles that the Iranians fired at the Abraham Lincoln a couple days ago. So, yeah, it's been a very bad story. You know,
you reminded us. In fact, I'm looking at Ed because I think we were here the day that news broke when they talked about those covert shipments coming in. Ed, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the issue is that the Chinese have missiles that can sink one of our aircraft carriers, which would be a complete disaster, and both symbolically and reality. So is that what kind of missiles that are being shipped to Iran now by China?
Yeah, the Chinese shipped supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles, and those are the ones that actually missed the carrier. And that's an indication that the United States has effective defensive measures, because Chinese propagandists have been very busy over the last couple of weeks saying that we have no way to stop those missiles from hitting our carriers. Now, the Chinese probably have hypersonic anti-ship cruise missiles. We haven't seen those yet. There are indications that they have shipped them to Iran, but that's just rumor. But that would be the test, if we can actually spook those or somehow get them not to hit our ships.
What's the leverage, too? You know, it's interesting because China also obviously gets a lot of oil from Iran. Clearly, they're having trouble getting the oil these days. I would assume they're having a really tough time. And now President Trump is supposed to meet with Xi Jinping in a matter of weeks. So does he have a little more leverage than maybe he didn't before this in that meeting?
Yes, I think President Trump does. One thing, though, Iran has let tankers through the Strait of Hormuz carrying oil bound for China. So China's gotten actually a substantial amount of oil in the last week or so. But going to your question, Rita, yes, I think President Trump does have more leverage. And matter of fact, he has so much leverage, at least at this moment, that I'm not sure the Chinese want President Trump in Beijing. Now, it depends how the war goes for the next couple of weeks. If it goes badly for us, then the Chinese are going to be welcoming President Trump with open arms. And then President Trump shouldn't go to China. But if the war continues on its present trajectory, I think the Chinese really are very afraid of what Trump may say or do in their capital.
And Judge Weinberg, you had a big thing also on green energy, too.
Well, good to talk to you, Gordon. One of my concerns is you have this obsession with green energy, and particularly amongst the Europeans, and yet the reliance on green energy by the Europeans means they have to go to China for all the component parts for green energy. So everybody's saying China is losing because of this war in Iran. Maybe that's not so. Your thoughts?
Well, China is gaining some things and losing some things. The most important thing is that it's lost this notion of this image of being able to take over the 21st century. You know, up until last year, the Chinese thought that they actually did own this period and that they could push the United States around at will. Now, they are starting to reassess that. They did that starting with the January 3 extraction of Nicolas Maduro and his wife from Caracas. And I think that they probably have continued to question that narrative after the strikes on Iran, because they see that they really can't do anything to stop the U.S. And people around the world have seen that China has not stood behind its two friends, Venezuela and Iran.
As a matter of fact, China came out today, I think, or yesterday, and scolded Iran for attacking the rest of the Emirates.
Yes, and they had to, because they were under a lot of pressure in the UN and elsewhere. The Chinese don't want to see a wider war, I think, and largely because right now Xi Jinping's only plan for rescuing his economy is to export more around the world. That means he needs a stable and calm environment. And with the attacks on Saudi Arabia and other states in the Gulf, that tends to roil the situation. But the one thing, though, I think, President Xi Jinping, he'd like to see Trump have trouble. So to the extent that Iran is able to survive and continue, that's something that the Chinese are certainly supporting. They started supporting them decades ago, and they haven't given up now.
Now, what I said on television and I said on radio before is the one great thing, we have peace in the entire world because President Xi and Trump have at least a discussion with each other. And they're always able to talk. And what President Trump did last week, the reason we had World War II is because Franklin Delano Roosevelt forced the issue and took all the oil away from Japan and forced Japan into a war. Whether he did it voluntarily to be able to go into Europe or not, we still don't know. But that's what had Japan, when they ran out of oil, they knew they had to they went after Pearl Harbor. And in world peace, Putin and Trump talk to each other, and they have a discussion with each other. So you know that there's not going to be a world war between Putin and the rest of the world, or President Xi and the rest of the world.
Gordon, thank you very much. Great points, you guys. Thank you, Gordon. We always love having you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.